last trip. It's one of those, like I said, in all the other Mega Man games, they made it easy because you would just unlock those extra abilities by defeating certain robot masters. Of course, there's 3 of them in Mega Man 2, and then they became more standard with just kind of like, you know, only 2 of them from then on in Mega Man 3 through 6. And then in later Mega Man incarnations, when they started making, you know, like the X series and all, they started, you know, adding a ton of new abilities and stuff like that would be added. But in these games, they only had a few. This one only has 1. Mega Man had 2, has 3, and 3 through 6 only have 2 apiece. So, but this one you actually have to find it, and of course having to use another Robot Master's ability is actually pretty cool and a little bit challenging. Now here's where it is. You can see on the right side of the screen there. Of course, I need Gutsman's ability, which he can lift these little blocks here. And boom, there it is. No really big celebration, no nothing. As you can see, it's now the M at the bottom of my weapon selection screen, which, you know, signifies that I have grabbed it, and of course I'm going to be needing it in order to get past a certain room in Wily's castle. It's pretty much the only time you need it. I'm sure there's some other areas in which it could be useful, maybe. I really can't think of any. Maybe some of the other previous stages there was something useful you could have used it for, but the one main purpose and the reason why you must have it is for a certain room in Wily's castle. And there's been several times when playing the game I was just kind of speeding it through, and then I was like, crap, I forgot it. So I had to redo it like man to start the speed run all over and over and over again. Just, it's like, god damn it, I didn't feel like having to redo that, but oh well. Actually, in one of my practice runs of doing this one, I forgot it, so that's why I'm making such a big deal out of it. Don't forget it if you already have Gutsman's ability. Just one less thing you have to deal with. Okay. Now that we've entered the Luckman's boss room area, his hallway or whatever, his whole thing is a big ladder that you have to climb up with a bunch of the little electrical things. It's really easy to dodge. Just time your way through. Don't rush it. You know, they pretty much have both sets of 3 have the exact same pattern. The middle one goes off first, and then the top and bottom ones at the same time, pretty much. Okay, once you get through them, you're going to move your way up to the top. The floor is going to close off, so of course you couldn't fall back down, which is cool. At least they do that. And Luckman. He's really, really fast, and his blast does a ton of damage. Here's my thing for him. You just get him stuck in this pattern. See how easy this is? Now, fortunately, you can't get him stuck here all the time, because sometimes he will kind of do his own thing. But for the most part, I found jumping up here and doing this will absolutely, positively get him stuck in a loop that never seems to end, and you can just whoop up on him really, really bad. It makes him extremely, extremely easy. Of course, you could also grab the 2 blocks right there using Gutman ability and take him out, but hey, if he's stuck in a pattern, stuck in a loop, and not doing any damage to me, I don't see a real need to go out of my way to do anything special to take him out, so. Hey, Luckman has completed. We get our 80,000 clear points, and now we get to move on to, like, pretty much the second half of the game. I mean, it's, you know, Dr. Wily's whole set of castle stages, his own kind of thing, is pretty much like the second half of the game. It's pretty much beating the Robot Masters is the halfway point, and then you pretty much have another whole half to deal with in the Wily stages. Of course, Dr. Wily and his famous UFO, as you can hear the sounds as he will take off, and now we get ready and set, and here we go with the Wily stages. Of course, this first one is, of course, the most annoying of them all, because this one has the Yellow Devil as the end boss of it. The next one after this one has a Mega Man clone, which is actually pretty annoying as well. The third one actually has a really, really easy enemy. People have kind of called him the prototype of Bubble Man, which you'll see why, because he pretty much he rides in a bubble. I don't know, I saw that written in a couple of the FAQs I was just looking at randomly through this game, you know, before I started messing with the game. But he's extremely easy to deal with. And then, of course, you have some of the older Robot Masters that you have to refight, you know, as well throughout the course of it. In all the other Mega Man games, it became kind of like a boss rush thing at the end of it, like the final Wily stage. This one in particular, you fight a couple throughout them, and they're split up between like 2 different levels. The final stage in particular, you actually have to fight 3 of them, and then have to fight Wily as well, even with the same health bar, so it's actually really, really hard. But since 2 of the Robot Masters are actually really easy to deal with, only one of them's a pain in the butt, it's pretty simple to get past it. Of course, the one that's a pain in the butt to get past is Fireman, because I've always had problems. But if you're good against Fireman, obviously you're probably good against, you know, if you can get Fireman stuck in that pattern, of course it's really, really easy. I actually looked at some videos. It was like, it's amazing how everyone but me seemingly can get Fireman stuck in that loop half the time. But oh well, I guess I'm just not that lucky half the time. Of course, this part right here is a little bit annoying because it takes a little bit of time for the platforms to move, but if you take your time, you pretty much won't get hit. I'm gonna pick Gutsman's ability because there's the little item boost thing, is to recharge my weapon back up and work my way up. I don't like having any of the other abilities selected unless I have to. Okay, here's where we have to use, there's platforms for the M weapon, the special weapon we picked up. Pretty easy to use. Of course, this stuff will be later on pretty much used again, and in future Mega Man games with, you know, different lifts and stuff like that, you know, in Mega Man 2 through 6. But that was pretty much the beginnings of it. They had only the one in this one. Okay. Yellow Devil. Right off the bat, after the screen closes up, move to the middle of the screen. Because here comes a whole bunch of flying parts. He's made up of a whole ton of parts. When all his parts build his entire body back up, a little eye appears and you must blast it. And then immediately it closes and starts moving back and forth. All of them are easy to dodge, except for that one right there, that one I did the longer jump on, and it's an easy way to tell when it's coming. What happens is, when you watch it, when they're all gone, when that one appeared right below his crotch, pretty much, when that started to appear, I know I have to make my longer jump over him. You'll see it again. That one will appear below the crotch, and I make my longer jump. It takes some timing, takes some getting used to, but overall, I think by realizing that it's the same exact pattern every single time of the items moving, and just knowing when that one's about to come at you, it's pretty easy to get along and jumping. Now, it's still not particularly easy, it's just easier, because dodging all this stuff flying at you at a rapid speed is not easy no matter what. And of course, the fact that he's hard to hit, because you only get one shot on him every little bit. Of course, you can use like the Elect Man's ability, which does a pretty good chunk of damage. And you can also use the pause glitch, which I really haven't mentioned throughout this run because it's the only game that has it. You can actually pause the game, and when you're blasting them and stuff, you can actually keep that same blast you hit them with, hitting them over and over and over again by exploiting the pause button. It's become pretty famous amongst, of course, the Mega Man games. But since I don't really find it necessary to use, except pretty much if you're having a lot of trouble against this guy in particular. It's one of those bosses I don't think many people would blame anyone for using it, the pause glitch, against him. And even though I know the exact pattern, I still mess up from time to time. It's, I actually find the harder part of it is dodging that blast he shoots out when his eye briefly opens for that very split second when you have to hit him with it. I find dodging that blast sometimes a lot harder than actually dodging him, or at least his body that keeps moving from left to right. Of course, this guy would kind of reappear in later Mega Man games, but he was nothing of the same. He was kind of just completely different from this. I guess this is the only game that has this particular form of this guy, really, you have to mess with, or at least this difficulty that you have to mess with, but still, damn, he's a pain in the butt. Just a really, really long, drawn-out battle. But like I said, memorize that one that lights up right between the crotch, and you at least know when you have to make the longer of all the jumps. And for the most part, just staying in the middle and jumping over them, you can get past most of it. Of course, with him taken out, you get another clear bonus and rack up some points, and then you pretty much get set right back in, and you head up to the next level. Okay, here we go. Level 2 of Wily's stage, where we end up having to fight a clone of ourselves in the end of it, which is one of the other harder bosses, but there's actually a pretty easy way to get through them. Pretty much how as you saw how I dealt with Elect Man by getting them stuck kind of in a loop. Pretty much the same thing. In this one, you get to fight 3 of the bosses again. Of course, the first one we have to fight here is Cutman, who's absolutely really, really easy. Same as, easy as before. He throws his little boomerang blade at us, jump over that, and he'll jump around the screen like an idiot. And you just take the shots when you absolutely can, but it's pretty easy to deal with. I usually defeat him without really even taking any damage. I actually find this part harder than the actual boss battles that you have to deal with in this level. just because if you get hit, you'll end up falling down a hole in some of the harder to do jumps. Okay, fell through, and here's Elect